business where everybody thrives. The employees thrive, the vendors thrive, the community thrives. It's great fun to do, and it's actually more successful than doing it sort of the other way, because everybody's kind of pulling for you. Everybody's kind of wanting to see you work. Your employees are more engaged. Your vendors are doing more for you. I want to thank Ed Freeman for asking me to take part today. I'm really happy to be here. And thank you, David, for that great introduction. And so how many of you have shopped at the Container Store? And great. We don't have one in Charlottesville, but I'm ready to move to Charlottesville. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen. We need a store here for sure. This is a lot prettier than Dallas, where I live. Our trees don't flower. What's the deal with the flowering trees? We did open our first store in Dallas in 1978, a 1,600 square foot store. We had a whopping $35,000 of capital to begin the business with. And we sold products that save you space, but also save you time. I think somehow we had the good fortune to understand that if you're organized, you save time. You can get more done in your life if you're reasonably well organized. And we had no idea that we would all be as crazy and multitasking and time-starved as we are today. Back in 1978, it was a lot simpler, and people weren't as time-starved as they are today. What we're offering is the promise of an organized life. The Container Store is selling the promise of an organized life where everything's happier and calmer, you have more time, things are organized. There's a real Zen quality to that. If you're trying to get two kids off to school in the morning and you're disorganized and they're disorganized, everybody's late, people are crying, it's terrible. But if it's the organized life, everybody's happy, the little girl's school uniform is perfectly pressed, and the sandwiches are like in the heart shape. And there's a little love note from mom in the lunch sack, and the husband's a lot hunkier. And everything's just great in an organized life. That's what we're selling. How many of you feel like you have enough time on your hands? Do you have a lot of time on your hands? Nobody has any time. And we built that business on 7 foundation principles, which really do govern every decision that we make. They're kind of simple, do unto others, golden rule-ish types, but there's something that we can all agree on. How many of you disagree with that do unto others thing? You think that's a bad idea? Nobody ever disagrees with the 7 foundation principles. So that allows us to agree on the ends and then liberate every employee to choose whatever means they want to those ends, because we know we're not smart enough to tell thousands of employees how to behave in any given situation. So it's sort of the ultimate empowerment, radical empowerment of your employees. You agree on 7 foundation principles, and then they can do whatever they want to achieve that. We won't have time to go into all the foundation principles today, but you can look at them, and I hope you will, on whatwestandfor.com, our blog, whatwestandfor.com. We've also discovered that the 7 foundation principles are synonymous with the tenets of conscious capitalism. And here in a few minutes, we'll probably get Raj Sisodia, who literally wrote the book Conscious Capitalism, to explain the 4 tenets of conscious capitalism. At the Container Store, we're big advocates of that. My old friend that I went to school with, John Mackey, the Whole Foods guy, and I are both really always out there kind of trying to spread the word of conscious capitalism. It's funny, we went to school together and we both went off and started retail businesses, and now we're big conscious capitalist people. It's kind of weird. We're actually roommates at the University of Texas. But one thing about the conscious capitalism thing is adhering to the stakeholder model, where you are constantly working to optimize the relationship between your employees, your vendor, your shareholders, the community, all of your stakeholders. That part about building a business where really everybody thrives, that I think the video does a good job in talking about. One of our foundation principles is that 1 great person's equal to 3 good people. And that's kind of an understatement. It's easy for somebody to be 3 times as effective at something as another person. Great people are harder to find. If you believe that 1 person can be equal to 3 good people, why not hire only great people? And why not train them better than anybody else? Why not pay them better than anybody else? You're getting 3 times the productivity. What we do is we pay 50 to 100% above industry average. But But we're doing that with great people. And so we're getting 3 times the 1 equals 3. We're getting 3 times the business productivity at only 50 to 100% more pay. So with this hiring philosophy and paying philosophy, we also train more. The average retailer trains a first-year employee 8 hours. We train them 263 hours. 263 is more than 8. Once you train them 263 hours, you can't lose them. We have no turnover. I mean, in an industry that the average employee doesn't even last the year, triple-digit turnover for the retail industry, we have single-digit turnover. And I think one of the main reasons is not just the pay, not just the benefits, but because we only hire great people. And isn't it a lot more fun to work with people that you think are great than people that you don't think are great? I mean, that gets you out of bed and makes you want to come to work in the morning to get to work with great people. Nobody's overqualified. If the recently retired Federal Reserve Chairman wants to come to work for our accounting department, that's fine with us. And we have all these people with master's degrees and whatnot working on the sales floor, and they've worked there for 12 years. So when you come in with a storage and organization problem, they can really solve your kid's toy storage problem. And we really support their efforts to be the best they can possibly be, both at the job and at home. We all, our self-image, our self-confidence, our peace with ourselves has a lot to do with what we do for a living, our jobs, our work, more than it probably should. So if you have a company that really fulfills and allows to grow and really nurtures and takes care of and causes employees to kind of ascend on Maslow's hierarchy of need a little bit higher, you know what happens? They not only are more productive at work, they treat their family and their friends better. I mean, they treat the golden retriever better, I mean, they treat the guy at the 7-Eleven on the way home from work a lot better. So that's a cool thing about conscious capitalism is that you have this one company and your 7,000 employees feel a lot better about themselves and they treat everybody around them a lot better. And if you multiply that times the thousands of companies that are beginning to get involved with conscious capitalism a lot more, you have made the world a little bit better place. I used to get embarrassed when this happened, but I have employees, their spouses will say, Kip, she's been working there for 15 years, and I tell you, your foundation principles and all that it's made her a better wife. It's made her a better mother. And I'm like, oh my God, I was embarrassed, to hear that. How do you get accustomed? But now I really understand it. That yes, we feel better about ourselves. We treat everybody else better. And so much of how we feel is about what happens at work. Ed Friedman's really kind of the father of the stakeholder model, and Milton Friedman once said that the only reason a corporation exists is to maximize the return of the shareholder. And at the Container Store, we're like, Milton, I know you want a Nobel Prize and everything, but what we do is we actually take better care of the employee than anybody else. And if you do that, then she'll really take better care of the customer than anybody else. And if those two people are really ecstatic, like unusual, they're thriving, they're happy, they're really happy, well, then your shareholder's going to really, really be thriving and happy as well. But if you just focus myopically on the shareholder, as most business schools still teach people to do, the magic's lost, the employees aren't happy, the customer's not happy, and ultimately the shareholder's not going to be happy as well. My favorite movie, even though it's really corny, is It's a Wonderful Life, the Jimmy Stewart movie. And it's because I'm really big on wake, W-A-K-E, like a boat's wake. Everything you do, people don't understand the power of wake. Everything you do and everything you don't do has much more impact on the people around you in your business than you think it does. So in It's a Wonderful Life, the whole movie is showing this one guy, the incredible power of his wake, right? And so I think that as individuals, and particularly as companies, if we're mindful of our wakes, that adds up to a huge unassailable business advantage. You want to work for and you want to shop with a company that is mindful of its wake. So the unconscious capitalist companies kind of have a society pays for their cost of goods sold that they really don't. But a more conscious company and a more conscious group of people is they're aware of their wake. They're aware of the impact that they have on each other and the communities and the business world at large. So I think wake is a really cool concept that we talk a lot about. Even the most arrogant person actually underestimates the power of their wake. And so mind your wake. I think that's an important thing. In fact, it's a pretty good summation of conscious capitalism, just behaving that way, kind of minding minding your wake. Another foundation principles is fill the other guy's basket to the brim. Making money then becomes an easy proposition. Andrew Carnegie actually said that on his deathbed. Fill the other guy's basket to the brim. Making money then becomes an easy proposition. It speaks to creatively crafting a mutually beneficial relationship with the people you do business with. Synergies, the people that are dominating their niches and doing the best in business today are not trying to screw around the person that they do business with in order to get ahead. Business is not a zero-sum game. They're trying to create a mutually beneficial relationship with the people they do business with, creating win-wins and win-win-wins, creating a win-win with your employee, creating a win-win with your vendor. It's a blast to create a win-win with your vendor and then to have these long-term relationships, because if one human being is taking advantage of another human being, that relationship doesn't and shouldn't last very long. But if you have synergy, which is where the real money is made, you have these long-standing, unbelievably synergistic and profitable relationships with your manufacturers. And that's how the little container store, particularly when we were smaller, was able to compete with all the giant mass merchants. Our volume wasn't as big as the biggest retailers in the country, but our relationships with the manufacturers were a lot better, so we could get better pricing and better service from those vendors through those great win-win relationships. When you behave that way as a business, the universe conspires to assist you. And think about that for a minute. It's a lot easier to succeed in business if the universe is conspiring to assist you than if everybody kind of wants to see you fail, right? Your employees, somebody once said that any employee anywhere, first 25% of their productivity is mandatory. They have to do that to keep from getting fired. The next 75% is completely voluntary. They give that in direct proportion to how well they feel about their product, their company, the culture, their boss. And so, you know, the universe is conspiring to assist you because your employees are at 80 or 90 some odd percent productivity. Somebody gets the best price in the country on any manufacturer's products, and it's very often the container store, because, you know, we have the best relationship with that manufacturer. We're their favorite customer. We joke that even our bankers and lawyers conspire to assist us, you know, and it just makes it easier to do well when everybody kind of agrees with the approach that you take. Operating this way also acknowledges the true essence of the human spirit. Too many bosses, too many leaders think that people want to come to work and do as little as possible and kind of goof off and take it a little bit easy, and that defies the human spirit. People want to get out of bed and they want to go to work with other great people and do great things and then feel good, you know, going home at night knowing that they accomplished great things with great people. That's the human experience. That's the essence of the way people are. And so you have to have leaders that recognize that and treat people like that. I can't tell you how important it is that who you get to work with, that 1 equals 3 great people. When I was in the 5th grade, I think this girl, she liked me, and I knew she liked me. I was amazed that she liked me because she was the coolest girl in the whole school. But, you know, I really looked forward to going to work every morning, because I've gone to school in the morning, because that's the kind of people you want to work with too. People that you can't believe you're lucky enough to get to work with. We recently went through an IPO, and I guess about 1.25 years ago, and that's been interesting. You know, being a public company, I spent several years talking to you know, many of the business leaders who I think are conscious capitalists. Jim Senegal at Costco is a great example. And Jim, you've been doing this for like 35 years. I'm getting ready to take my first step as a CEO of a conscious capitalist public company. How do you do it? And what I've learned is that you can absolutely remain true to your principles, and you must. You can remain true to your foundation principles, your conscious capital. Going public hasn't really changed a thing. It's intense. It's a heck of a lot more intense than I thought. And the stock price, you know, we came out at $18, and then it doubled to $36 the first day, and then it went to $47, which was almost 200 times earnings. So it's been very intense. But I think that Senegal and people like that kind of pioneered the path, and people like John Mackey at Whole Foods and the Container Store. Southwest Airlines is a good example of a very conscious capitalist public company. Herb Kelleher, the founder of Southwest Airlines, told me 35 years ago, Kip, you can build a much better company on love than you can fear. You know, lead with love, don't lead with fear. So it's been interesting that even even in the public sector, the conscious capitalism thing works better than not. So that's enough from me, I think. Now we're going to hear some real experts on conscious capitalism and the stakeholder model. We're going to have a little panel here from some of the people that I most admire talking about conscious capitalism, and I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you for having me here today. It's great.
Thank you.